In this video, we'll be covering my design programs of choice. Hey, what's up? I'm Mark Bellini, and I'm all about achieving financial independence through real estate investing and online business. So if you're new to the channel and you're looking to achieve financial freedom for yourself, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below and you will not miss a thing. So I've been a designer now for about 11 years, and in that time I've used a few programs, and some I still use to this day and some I haven't used in years. And I want to kind of cover what I'm using today so you can kind of figure out what may work for you. So let's dive in here. So first off, I can't begin this video without mentioning the Adobe Creative Suite because it has been the standard for many years. And I kind of go over this briefly to kind of give you an idea of where everything started. So UI design basically started with Photoshop. People would use Photoshop to create their UI designs. And it's not really a UI design program. It's designed for editing photos. That's what it's meant for. But people used it because there wasn't really anything else to use. And that basically created a hole in the market to be filled. And that's where a company called Sketch opened up here. And Sketch basically filled that hole in the market. It is a UI design program that has a lot more features and capability than Photoshop ever had because it's meant for UI design and not editing photos. It has some photo editing capabilities, some minor ones, but it's not really meant for that. So Sketch offers things like you can create design libraries, you can create components. It's a lot of features that I can dive into a little bit more in a different video, but this basically became the standard program for designing for web and mobile devices. And you kind of get an idea here with this little animation video of kind of what they're doing. You can share the document with other people, just do a little prototyping. You know, there's a lot of features that this program offers, and there's a lot of plugins. There's a large community, and so there's a lot of different plugins that you can download and expand the features of this program significantly, actually. So very cool program. And I used this program for a few years after I moved on from Photoshop, basically to Sketch. But I was never really huge on it. It's a good program, but I wasn't a fanboy of it, you could say. Then a program called Figma came out, and then I started learning Figma, and this one really did it for me. I really liked it. I really liked how they set everything up and how everything works. It has the same capabilities. It has basically design library capabilities and components and variants, and it's also community-based, so you can actually have a design file and invite people to it, and you can see people come into that file. You can see their mouse moving around. It's very interactive. It's really cool. So they expanded their features and capabilities a lot more than Sketch. And so I just like it for that reason because they have just a lot of features and capabilities, and it's actually free to get started. So you can download this and start using it today. Whereas with Sketch, you have to actually purchase it. And I think it's only on Macs only, so you can't use it on a PC. Whereas Figma, you can use it, on Mac or PC. So great design tool, and this is basically what I use. So we're going to jump back over here to Adobe to kind of give you more insight of the tools I use here. So you can see there's a kind of an overview. They have programs that are kind of dedicated more towards photos, some more dedicated towards graphic design, video, and illustration, and social media, and finally UI and UX. And first off here, we have XD, and XD is basically Adobe's answer to that hole in the market. So they created their own UI design software that is similar to Sketch and Figma. So I haven't used XD that much, but I heard great things. So if this is a program that you want to dive into, I heard is a great option. So that is one you can use. Photoshop you're going to need because as a designer for the web or mobile, you're going to need to probably edit photos. You're going to need to crop photos, do effects, visual effects, and all kinds of different things with photos. So Photoshop is a industry standard. There are other programs available, so you can do like, comparable programs to Photoshop, on Google and find something probably pretty decent. But Photoshop is definitely the industry standard photo editing program. Next we have Illustrator. And Illustrator is a little bit different than Photoshop because Illustrator is vector based. And what that means is it's based on math versus pixels. Photoshop is pixel based, and that's raster. You know, when you expand an image really large, it gets really fuzzy and blurry and looks really bad. That's because it's raster based. It's like actual little images, and they lose, you know, clarity as they get bigger, or, you know, really small too. Illustrator is different because you can expand it to any size and it doesn't matter. It just keeps scaling and scaling and scaling because it's based on math, like I said. So it's just information, and it kind of just generates, and there's no problem. And so what you do with Illustrator is you export something called an SVG, which is scalable vector graphic. And that's basically what it means is you can scale it to any size you want, or really small, and it looks really crisp and sharp. And Illustrator is great for creating like little icons or small illustrations or large illustrations, whatever it may be. And you can kind of get an idea of what the two can do here, because in Photoshop there's like an image and some effects, and Illustrator is more kind of this illustration cartoon kind of look. And you can actually combine the two. You can actually drag vector graphics into Photoshop and kind of combine the two. So that is something you can do as well. Now down here we have After Effects, and After Effects is basically a prototyping software in the use case of UI and UX. It has a lot more capability than just that. You can do, you know, all kinds of visual effects, really cool visual effects, like almost like movie level style kind of effects and stuff. It's really, really cool program, has a ton of capabilities, and you can actually focus your whole career on After Effects alone because of what the program can do. That said, you're probably not going to use it that much as a web designer, but it is a great tool for prototyping if you want to kind of see how something could look, or if you want to show somebody how it could look. You can show like swiping effects or how screens change, just how things animate. This is a good program to do that. That said, there's other programs available out there that you could search for. I think proto.io is one. There's a few others, but just go on Google again and just do a search for, you know, programs that are comparable to After Effects, or, you know, best web design prototyping software or something like that, and you'll come up with a few options that you can use. But personally, out of this list, I use Photoshop, Illustrator, and After Effects occasionally. And I can actually show you in the doc here. So I use Chrome for all, you know, internet browser things. I also have Safari here in case I need a second browser. And that's good because if you want to do any browser testing, you can test it in Safari. You can also download Firefox, because different browsers actually might show your website differently. If you have your website launched, you can test it in different browsers to be sure it's consistent. Obviously, like I said, I use Figma. Figma is my design program of choice, like I was saying, so I use that every day. And I love, you know, learning about the new features and plugin capabilities. And I actually want to show something here really cool too. There's a community tab within here, and you can kind of just explore and see what they have in here. They have all kinds of different plugins that you can check out. FigJam is another feature that they have, which is pretty cool. They have all kinds of files, so you can actually go through. So let's go down to web design here, or even UI kits. Let's go and see what they got there. So you can actually take these files and you can actually download them for yourself and use them as kind of like a starting point to some degree. So there's a huge, you know, amount of things here in the community tab, and this is a great way to explore the capabilities of Figma and kind of what's out there. So great tool. Can't stress it enough. It's my favorite tool. So that is my preference there. So again, Photoshop, use it pretty much every day. Illustrator I use pretty much every week. And then Premiere I use for editing this video. ScreenFlow I use for recording the screen. And Image Optim here. So when you export a video from Photoshop, sometimes it may be a little bit large. You got to be careful of that, especially when you're uploading it to a website, because large images will really slow down your page speed, especially on mobile. So you need to be very, very aware of that. And shrink images down and then cut the size, if you can, to a smaller file size. And that's what Image Optim does. It takes your image, whatever you exported, you drop it on this icon right here, you just drop it, and it just cuts the file size immediately and makes it faster for the web. So that's really good. I also use, if you're doing any coding whatsoever, if you're going to be doing copying any code or editing any code or anything like that, Sublime Text is my program of choice. It's this very, very simple text editor, but it works great. And then I have just basic text edit for notes, and I have Microsoft Microsoft is good to have because sometimes people will send you files that are like a Word doc or some kind of PowerPoint or something, you need to look at it. Apple does a pretty good job of opening it in different programs, but it's just good to have just because it's kind of the standard for business. So, and then Spotify. But that is about it. There are some other programs here. Adobe Acrobat is great to have for PDFs and stuff like that. So Acrobat is pretty crucial. That's a good one to have. Let's see if there's anything else in here that I missed. Adobe Media Encoder is good too. So if you're editing videos at all, you edit them in Premiere, Adobe Premiere, which is what I'm using now to edit the videos. And then you use Adobe Media Encoder to export that video at the file type and size that you need. So that is a great program there. And I think that's about it. Dropbox is good to have. Google Drive, if you're storing stuff on the cloud, kind of same as Dropbox. Logic Pro I use if I'm doing any specific audio editing or audio recording. Logic Pro is kind of a professional choice there, so I do have that. So that's something you could possibly use too. Let's see, I think that's about it. I think that covers most of it. So anyways, yeah, like I said, Photoshop, Illustrator, Figma are probably my top 3 programs that I'm using constantly. And then since I'm doing videos, Premiere and Media Encoder and ScreenFlow. So that sums them up really quickly, but that's what I'm using. So if you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.